You are an Antarctic explorer, stepping off the transport and entering into a world that feels like another planet. The moment your boots hit the ice, the wind slams into you like a living thing. A force that cuts through layers of fabric and padding as if they were paper. The air is so dry and so cold that it burns your nostrils before it ever reaches your lungs. And the first breath you take feels like it's scraping the inside of your chest. There is no easing into this place. It announces itself with violence. Snow isn't falling softly here. It's being hurled sideways, each grain of ice stinging your skin like a pinprick. The horizon is a white blur, merging sky and earth into one endless sheet of frozen nothing. And it takes you a moment to realize there are no smells, no signs of life, just a constant roar of wind. You shift your weight, trying to take a step forward, but the ice beneath you feels unstable. Your soles sliding ever so slightly, with each movement forcing you to plant your feet carefully, as if one wrong motion might send you sprawling into the cold. Before you've even found where to set your gear, frost has begun to collect on your eyelashes and eyebrows, clumping them together until every blink feels stiff. Your breath condenses instantly on your scarf, turning it into a rim of ice that stiffens around your mouth. The fingertips inside your gloves are already prickling, an early warning of what happens if you stay still too long. The team leader shouts something over the wind, but the words are torn apart before they reach you. You can only read gestures, follow movements, and hope you're doing what's expected. Somewhere behind you, the supply sled creaks under its load, the sound strangely muted under the howl of the storm. Your jaw aches from clenching against the cold, and you find yourself shifting your scarf higher, trying to cover more of your face, but the wind finds its way in anyway, seeking every gap. You notice tiny shards of ice forming on the tips of your hair, snapping off and falling like glass whenever you move. This is the welcome the Antarctic gives you. No gradual adjustment, no mercy. Here, even standing still drains you, because every second your body is fighting a war it's destined to lose if you stop moving. And you've only just arrived. Your day starts before the sun, which doesn't mean much here, because it might not rise for weeks at a time. The world outside your tent is a frozen void, the wind already tearing at the fabric as you force yourself to unzip the entrance. Stepping out is like walking into an open freezer the size of a continent, but there's no room for hesitation. You have miles to cover, and every mile is through deep, uneven snow that swallows your boots to the ankle, sometimes to the knee. Beneath it, the ice shifts in unpredictable ways, a constant reminder that what you're standing on is not solid ground, but a living, moving sheet that can crack without warning. The gear you carry is heavy, straps digging into your shoulders, the weight pulling at your back with every step. It's not a quick sprint to complete the day's work. It's hours of trudging forward, leaning into gusts so strong they can knock you sideways if you lose focus. Your body burns through calories at a staggering pace. And yet, no matter how much you eat, a gnawing hunger lingers in your stomach, as if the cold itself is stealing your energy. You keep your hands inside thick gloves, but the trade-off is brutal. With them, every task is clumsy and slow, from clipping ropes to adjusting equipment. Without them, the skin on your fingers starts to burn and stiffen within minutes. The early stages of frostbite creeping in before you even finish tightening a strap. It's a constant choice between pain and precision, between being able to work properly and protecting your own skin. Every movement is deliberate, because rushing means mistakes, and mistakes here can cost more than time. They can cost parts of your body. The snow beneath you crunches in a rhythm that becomes hypnotic, but you can't let yourself drift mentally. All it takes is one misstep on hidden ice to twist an ankle, and out here, that could end your mission. The weight of your clothing, the endless drag of the sled, and the unrelenting wind make the simplest tasks exhausting. By the time the day is half over, your muscles ache as if you've been climbing a mountain, and you still have the return journey to think about. You stop for brief moments to eat, biting into frozen rations so hard they threaten to chip your teeth, swallowing them half-thawed as your breath rises in white clouds. There's no real rest, no warmth to return to before the job is done. Out here, work is not about speed or skill. It's about endurance, about forcing your body to obey long after it started begging you to stop. And in the Antarctic, that battle begins again every single day. The wind rises until it's no longer just a force you feel. It's a wall pushing against your entire body, threatening to throw you off balance. The sky and ground vanish into the same swirling white void, and the path you were following seconds ago is gone as if it never existed. Snow and shards of ice slam into your face like a rain of needles, stinging so sharply that your eyes water instantly, the tears freezing at the corners. The sound is relentless, a roaring howl that swallows your own breathing and makes shouted words from nearby vanish into nothing. You glance at the GPS strapped to your chest, but the screen glitches and dies in the cold, the battery drained faster than it should be. You turn to your compass as backup, only to find the needle twitching erratically, as if even it can't decide which way is safe. The temperature plummets further, the kind of cold that seems to reach inside you, numbing your core while your extremities burn from the icy assault. Your pace slows because you can't see where your next step will land, but slowing down here is dangerous. Your body is burning energy just to keep you alive, and every extra minute in these conditions is a minute closer to collapse. You focus on the person ahead, their shape barely visible through the white curtain, but even that fragile guy can vanish in a single gust. In these moments, the Antarctic is not simply indifferent to your survival, it is actively working to erase you. Every sense is overwhelmed, and the thin line between determination and desperation blurs. The storm has no rhythm, no pause, no mercy, and the more you fight it, the more it feels like the ice and wind are trying to grind you into the landscape. Out here, the world is not your enemy by choice. It simply does not care if you make it through the next hour. Days bleed into each other until you lose track of how long you have been here. The radio is your only connection to the outside world, and even that is unreliable, its static-filled signal fading in and out depending on the weather. There are stretches where you hear nothing at all, and in those moments, the silence is replaced only by the endless roar of the wind. You start to forget what other sounds feel like, how a voice without distortion or a natural ambient noise might soothe your mind. Every meal is the same, ration portions pulled from crinkling plastic, the faint chemical smell of the packaging mixing with the bland, powdery taste of freeze-dried food. You chew and swallow because you must, not because you want to. The act of eating becomes mechanical, a task rather than a comfort. The cold is an uninvited guest that never leaves, seeping into your tent at night no matter how many layers you wrap yourself in. It cuts through your sleeping bag, turning warmth into a brief, fragile illusion. You wake often, sometimes because the wind shakes the walls so violently they hum like a giant drum. Other times because your own body is shivering hard enough to rattle your teeth. Your muscles ache from tension, never fully relaxing, always braced against the possibility that the storm outside might rip the shelter from its anchors. The lack of daylight, or the unbroken daylight depending on the season, distorts your sense of time further, erasing the difference between morning and night. You find yourself staring at the same point on the tent wall for minutes without realizing it, your thoughts drifting into nothingness. Conversations, when they happen, are short and utilitarian, as if every word has to be justified. The isolation here is not just physical. It begins to take root in your mind, making you feel smaller, more fragile, as if the Antarctic has pulled you so far from the world that you are no longer certain you will return to it the same person. Even with the most advanced cold weather gear, your body is never truly prepared to live like this. The cold doesn't just sting, it burns, searing exposed skin in minutes, leaving it red, raw, and eventually pale as frostbite takes hold. The dry air splits your lips until they bleed and cracks the inside of your nose, so every breath feels like inhaling fire. Hydration becomes its own battle because your water freezes before you can drink it, forcing you to thaw ice or snow and drink it lukewarm just to keep going. Your joints ache constantly from the strain of moving under layers of insulation, and the cold seeps into them so deeply It feels as if your bones are grinding together. Muscles tighten and lock without warning, and even small cuts, the kind you would ignore anywhere else, take weeks to heal. The skin reluctant to knit under these conditions. Your feet are a constant source of trouble. No matter how many socks you wear or how often you change them, moisture finds its way in. Trapped inside heavy boots, it breeds fungal infections, blisters, and in the worst cases, necrosis. In 2012, British explorer Sir Ranulph Fiennes experienced this reality in a way that ended his Antarctic crossing attempt. While preparing for a ski expedition across the continent in winter, he developed severe frostbite on his left hand. After briefly removing his gloves to adjust a ski binding in minus 30 degrees Celsius wind chill, the freezing air in contact with metal drained the heat from his skin instantly. By the time he got his gloves back on, the damage was already done. The skin turned white, then black over the next few days. Evacuation was the only option, and he had to be airlifted to South Africa for emergency treatment. Months later, back in the UK, he amputated the tips of his frostbitten fingers himself because the pain was unbearable. His career of surviving extreme environments didn't save him from a single lapse in protection. Out here, your health is a tightrope stretched over a drop, and all it takes is one lapse in attention. One stubborn decision to push through the pain, for the rope to snap. The Antarctic does not care about your strength, your training, or the years you spent preparing to face it. Out here, nature wins whenever it chooses. A slab of ice can give way beneath your boots, dropping you into water so cold it shocks the air from your lungs before you can even scream. The cold seeps in instantly, numbing your limbs, turning every movement sluggish while the weight of your clothing drags you down. If you are lucky enough to be pulled out, the clock is already ticking toward hypothermia, and you may not have enough time left for rescue to matter. Sometimes it is not sudden. A storm can pin you in place for days, the wind shaking your shelter like a rag in the jaws of a dog, while your food and fuel run dangerously low. Every hour trapped inside, you burn more energy than you can replace, the cold gnawing at you even when you are motionless. Or it happens slowly as your gear fails one piece at a time. A stove that won't light, a tent pole that snaps under the strain of the wind, a crucial battery drained to nothing. Out here, there's no hardware store, no replacement, no help coming over the horizon. The end can be swift, a single fatal accident, or it can creep toward you over days until your body finally stops fighting. And if you return home, if you are one of the few who make it back, you carry with you the unshakable knowledge that there is no place on Earth as hostile, as relentless, and as unwilling to let you leave alive as the Antarctic.